Ladies and gentlemen, the voice of college football, who's been waiting to get on for 15 minutes as we just had this conversation right here because I completely forgot that he was on. But how could you ever forget this guy? His blue eyes, his dedication to sport and game, his knowledge of sport and game, and also how good of a damn teammate he is on College Game Day. Ladies and gentlemen, Kirk Herbstreit.
Kirk Herbstreit is here now.
Oh, I see the Rose Bowl hat. Beautiful, beautiful place. Ohio State.
Always wear the Rose Bowl hat.
Yeah.
Love the hat.
I have a Rose Bowl hat as well. I wear it. It's very well done. It was a flat bill, so I had to work it a little bit.
Sure.
But it was very well done, and it looks beautiful. The rose is a beautiful, it's like a very nice decor, if you will, on any type of fashion. Let's talk about the Rose Bowl and everything else happening. Ohio State beat the hell out of Tennessee. Okay, Ohio State beat the hell out of Tennessee. And I saw your Sports Center hit afterwards with Linda Cohn, who we all have massive respect for. And you talked about how, these seedings and these rankings that have happened, and there's always an uproar publicly from people about, they have 11 wins, they have 10 wins. And I think you were calculating in every year that has happened in college ball when it was 4 teams, and then now it's 12. When it was 2 teams, that's always a talking point, always a talking point. And then the first round was basically all blowouts of multiple scores, except for that Indiana Notre Dame.
That was tight.
27-17, just 10 points. The closest margin of victory throughout the entire first round. But it was a lot of blowouts in this first round, and we talked about how that could be possible. How do you think it's changed for next year, and what are your thoughts on the 12-team playoff and how it started thus far?
I think I said it on that post-game comment. I think people were, some of the responses, it sounds like people were thinking I was trying to go to bat for other teams. I'm really not. My whole thing is I just don't want, if the reasoning on the at-large teams is they're better, not only the resume, but they're a better team, then put them in. I just don't want to see a team get in because they're 11-1, and if the logic is they're 11-1 that they should be in, I just don't think that's all it should be. I think, I always bring this up at the ESPN seminar that you were part of this year. We appreciate you've gotten that out and sticking around for both days. I always ask the question in front of everybody so we understand the ground rules for the committee. Always raise my hand and I say, as they talk about the CFP, are we trying to figure out who the most the better teams are, or the teams that have kind of earned their way and they deserve to be there? Because sometimes we get to near the end and you hear a lot of, well, they deserve to be in. And I've always asked him that every August before we get started, are you trying to find the best 12 or the most deserving 12? And every year they've said, no, we want the best 12. So if Indiana and SMU and Ohio State, any of these at-large teams, Penn State, Texas, whoever you think, if these are the best at-large teams, then so be it. Put them in. And if Indiana's one of them, and I apologize to you and the Indiana fans. I think I was just finished calling that game and thought about the Friday night game when I was standing on the field. And I looked at Indiana, and I really wondered, is this one of the best 12 teams as I'm watching them play? I know you said you thought that was a close game.
What? That's 27-17. 27-17, right?
And if you take out that 98-yard,
showed a lot of fight, never gave up.
Field goal in 20-degree weather.
Mm-hmm.
Hey. We get what you're saying. Yeah. Final score 27-17. Final score 27-17. But yeah, for a large portion.
But I'm just saying, like, if I'm in that committee room, if I were discussing it, I guess my thing would be, because they all get in it together and debate and discuss. My only thing would be, guys, remember in August we were talking about trying to find the best 12. And listen, I'm not trying to go to bat for Alabama, who got embarrassed by a 6-6 Oklahoma team at the end of the year. South Carolina probably had as strong a case, and people say, well, they lost to Alabama and to Ole Miss. How can you put them over? So I really wasn't even getting into the weeds of Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, whoever. It wasn't about, Miami of Florida, another team, the ACC that you could talk about. It wasn't even debating teams it was just, if we're going to pick these at-large teams, if we could all, as a committee, put our arms around each other and say, hey, guys, we've done our job. Resume is important, but these are the best teams that we feel, and that was what they've asked us to do. That's all I was saying.
Yeah.
If these are the best teams, then great. Have at it. If it's a 17-point differential, whatever the score was, I don't really care. I just want to make sure that that's what we're doing. And if that's what we did this year, then so be it. But I just heard a lot of these teams are deserving to be there, and I just, that's not what they're supposed to be looking at.
Okay.
Deserving.
And when you asked that question, you also said, as somebody who has, called a lot of these games, I've been very lucky. You did the whole, I'm very fortunate, very lucky to be a part of a lot of these games. Whenever they're just blowouts, it kind of wastes the credibility of everybody. But when there was 14 playoffs, there was a bunch of blowouts as well.
12 out of 20.
There were a lot of blowouts.
I think there's a chance. What if there's a chance, though, that there is just a class of good and then great, a class of good, and then a bunch of, you know what I mean? What if, because you never know who's going to show up. And I would like to ask about an added factor this year that there hasn't been in the past. I think the cold won. I think Tennessee having to come up into Columbus with how cold that game was, it was so cold. I don't know what it was in the booth. Obviously, you were there.
Oh, it was cold. It was
Oh,
cold.
that was
I
like
don't
a
care.
bitter cold.
If you're from Ohio, that was like a cold.
Bitter.
Unseasonably cold. Bitter cold.
Bitter cold. So shout out to the Tennessee fans that traveled in there, and you talked about it, as did we on ours. It was that was a lot of Tennessee fans that traveled in. A lot. That was the most we've ever seen. They took over the College Game Day set. I almost picked them in the game because I was so bad about the Ohio State fans. Just letting the Tennessee fans come into the cold and just take over College Game Day. But in the end, I thought the cold was going to be an equalizer for a lot of teams. I thought it was going to change the math. You got SUVs on these Big Ten teams. You don't have as many in the SEC teams because you don't need them as much because you're playing a lot of games. 50 degrees would be a cold game. 65, 70, you can build your team, construct your team a bit different. The players can be different than it is in the colder climates. How do you feel about the cold being an equalizer? And do you think it's going to be something that's going to continue to happen that way as we move forward with the college football playoff?
I think it's great. I mean, all these years, we've talked always about the Big Ten or Notre Dame or teams in the North going down into the South, into the humidity. A lot of times it's, a place in Florida, whether it's Miami or Orlando or, down in Texas or wherever it might be. And a lot of times it's we see it in the NFL all the time, with the Dolphins trying to come up to the North or the teams in the North trying to go down to Miami. That humidity is for real. And there's no doubt that the weather was a factor, but I don't know if the weather was a factor or a huge advantage. Maybe Penn State, SMU. I mean, it's not that warm in Knoxville. I mean, I don't know what the highs were all week, but guessing it was 30s and 40s. But it was cold for everybody. You guys in your fur coat. You had your big fur coat on down there.
Faux fur. Nothing.
Yeah, I think it was cold for everybody. Could you feel your toes?
Toes were okay because I got some nice toe warmers from AJ Hawk.
Oh.
That was very kind of AJ to do that. But we were talking earlier about, it sucks that it's cold for everybody. But if you have to deal with that on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and I'm not just talking about football-wise, I'm talking about go to get something to eat, go to the gas station, having to deal with it. I think that takes away the initial, oh, this sucks. And I understand Knoxville, 30 degrees, obviously cold, freezing. Actually in America and in whatever they call it in Canada. But there's a difference between that and 11, 9. There's a difference between that and -10. And so embracing this suck, I think you're forced to do whenever you live in it. And I think that does affect football.
Fair. I mean,
I think that affects football.
That's fair. Yeah, but I just think when I was watching the game and calling the game, the things that stood out to me were in that particular game, it was just Ohio State backed into a corner. Some of their own fan bases.
Yep, I did remember. I did watch this game by a field pass with a Pat McAfee show.
Ended up being up in the crowd. I think that motivated them. Talking to Ryan Day after the fact, their fans being willing to sell those tickets. So I think it was more of us in this locker room, literally. Not
we was on
Ohio
ESPN
versus the world,
too.
but this locker room versus the world, and they really came out with a massive chip on their shoulder. And when they got that face mask on that third down, on that pass rush on the sack, that would have been a fourth down and a punt. Instead, they extend the drive.
Yeah, I'm gonna use
Eventually,
some
we
more
saw kind of a
broccoli this
precursor for what was to be, which was Jeremiah
time. I'm not gonna
Smith.
put on high.
And the Ohio
though,
State skill
unfortunately, though.
matched up in space against Tennessee was going to be a mismatch. And that first touchdown pass kind of set the tone for what was going to be the rest of the game, whether it was
We'll eat each
75 and
day, and
sunny
tomorrow eat some
or
beef
12
tomorrow.
degrees. That was what Ohio State's plan was. The shocking thing to me, and I even think to the Ohio State staff, is what happened at the line of scrimmage. I think Ohio State's skill matches up pretty favorably with anybody they face. But it was, would Will Howard have time to get the shots downfield? Would the offensive line hold up, especially after the way they played against Michigan, and bow down to them and to the way they executed their alpha, Seth McLaughlin, the Remington, the best center in the country. He's been out since Indiana. I think it impacted them against Indiana, and then of course against Michigan. That same group, after hearing about how bad they were, man, they really, I think, were the MVPs of that game and allowed Will Howard and the skill to do what they did. So that was the one way Tennessee could kind of neutralize Ohio State's skill, was to just dominate the line of scrimmage, and it was the opposite. The theme of that game was Ohio State's offensive line and defensive line completely dominating the football game.
Which might be attributed to the cold, probably. Might be a lot of hitting, a lot of jousting, a lot of through your body, a lot of that potentially. But I do appreciate the fact that Ohio State offensive line was called out by everybody. I mean, they were called,
Everybody.
that was like the talking point of the game. If Will Howard has time, he's good. But we saw him against good D line, Michigan. He got his feet running, was missing targets, doing the whole thing. I had film on it. Actually, it was like it was so much a focus on it. It was like, we're doing film on this whenever he has time and when he doesn't have time. Also, I think Chip Kelly was in his bag. Like, I think the edges getting attacked and the drag route and the cross, and then we got one-on-one coverage. We're taking a shot no matter what the call is. I think they played great. Can they continue to do that against Oregon? We shall see. Go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, Kirk, how do you think this team stacks up against Oregon? Obviously, second time of the season they will be playing them, but they both feel like they're in a different spot than they were when they previously played. But how do you think this game, obviously you're probably calling the game, you're not going to make a prediction or anything, but how do you think they match up? We know everything is about matchups. Like, how do you think interior, O-line, D-line, and obviously on the outside?
I'd love to hear what you think about this, AJ, but I've watched Oregon from week 1 to the last game they played in Indy. And when they're in Autzen Stadium, like a lot of great teams, they are a different team there than they have been when they come on the road. And
Peter?
yeah, I think it's the dogs getting groomed. It's their least favorite day.
Really?
Yeah,
Peter needs to know when he looks in the mirror, though, he's a sharp-dressed lad.
God, I'm hot.
He is a sharp-groomed lad. He's handsome, strong, handsome, and I love the tongue out. That's
sideways. He goes sideways tongue.
Yeah, just kind of chilling. Like he's very comfortable in his own
Oh,
form.
Dad didn't want to leave the sideline on Saturday. Hung.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yo.
Gee.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, you heard him.
You heard what he said. You didn't think he would have said that, but he did. We got to see Peter. We got to see Peter down on the sideline with us. He was locked in.
Yeah.
He was locked in like this right here, sitting down.
Oh, yeah.
And somebody was trying to get him to move. I don't think so. Buddy. And then another person tried to move him. No, now, okay. So this is a thing now. You saw Peter's head be like, nope, and nope. I'm not in anybody's way. What the hell? What is the problem here? Then Ryan comes in finally.
It's 2:42
and Ryan's
p.m.
like, hey, we got to move. And you see Peter just like begrudgingly go, this isn't because of you. This isn't because of you two. Just want to let you know that. Get up, moved out. I mean, it was.
Wow, that was
awesome
on
watching
ESPN
him.
I didn't know he was hanging out
too.
there.
He was for a bit. He was just hanging, like literally just sitting, and then they wanted him to move.
Wow, yep, we watched it on ESPN too.
Once again, I called out the security. It wasn't the Ohio State security. It was the CFP security that was talking to our camera people, and I actually said, these fucking people on the air. I said, these people, every time, because we're calling this thing from the sideline, and it's normally one person that has the authority and didn't get the message maybe, or didn't care about the message. So then,
Totally.
while
Yeah.
we're live, literally, hey, we're just trying to amplify this thing, telling us we need to move. You need to move. And it's like, no, we don't. You need. And I said the next time this happens, I want camera on person, and I want to go have a full conversation with this person.
Did that happen?
No, instead I said every fucking time with these guys, and the guy walked away, and then there was a conversation had. Fosso was like, they're doing the fucking
Yeah, paid a shitload of money to.
the reason
Yeah,
why we're
down
here.
there,
Yeah.
yeah.
So they're okay. Sounds good. And if they get hit by somebody, that'll be on them. It won't be on you.
Ain't great.
And it's already been signed by this entire thing. Because they always say,
Everybody's clean. We're all good. We're all good on that. But you're right. There's always that one guy at every stadium. But let me real quick on AJ and Autzen in that matchup. Oregon is hitting on all cylinders. The challenge for them will be to take that same energy into a neutral site, into that beautiful setting there in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl. They got great skill. I think if you go back and really watch that game, it was Tez Johnson and those receivers getting some one-on-one matchups, because Ohio State, they're more than willing to play a lot of man and leave those guys on their corners on islands. And we know what their quarterback can do. He can run it, which he did in that game. He can throw. I think it's been Ohio State. I think is after the Tennessee game. I think they're coming in with a great deal of confidence. I think they were able to reestablish that, obviously, after the Michigan game. But I think you're right. You're not the same team in week, whatever that was, 2 or 3 in yards at the end of the year. Neutral site. We all love Dan Lanning. We all love Ryan. I think it'll be a really, really interesting matchup. The winner of that game plays the winner of Texas, Arizona State, in the Cotton Bowl. So this is where it starts getting really, really interesting in this first ever 12-team playoff.
okay, on that note, Ty has a question for you.
Yeah, Herbie, obviously everyone talking about the, kind of blowouts this past weekend. How concerned or worried are you that we might be staring down 2 more ass whoopings in Texas, Arizona State, and Boise State and Penn State? I think that's what a lot of people are talking about right now with no reseeding. It's like, hey, we're going to do this again next weekend. And I mean, who knows about Notre Dame, Georgia?
What are the spreads in those 2 games? You guys know?
Yeah.
Gumpy,
Yeah.
what do you got?
It's 10.5 in Penn State, Boise State, and then Texas, Arizona State is 13.5. The other ones are 2.5.
Ty, I wonder if since this is something that I think can get tweaked along the way. I know Reese has been talking all year about those top 4 seeds, the conference champs, get to the end, and instead of looking at the conference champs, the only thing you get is you get a ticket into the playoff if you win a conference championship. But that doesn't necessarily mean you should be a top 4 team moving into the future. I think a lot of people bringing that point up. I think that's a fair point to discuss and debate in the offseason. Or as you're saying, I mean, do you reseed? Is that fair to get to that next round of the quarterfinals and reseed this thing and kind of start over? Would that create better matchups? I'm not sure. Because I think Arizona State, by brand, you look at that game against Texas and you think, oh, okay, Texas is going to kill those guys. But just watching Arizona State, especially since that week that their coach Dillingham, got sideways with the officials and went crazy, and everybody started to kind of pay attention to them. I think from that point on, seems like, man, they've been getting better and better every week, and they're more than just their talent and running back Scatterboo. I think the quarterback makes plays. So I don't know if that's necessarily a blowout. According to Las Vegas, it might be. In Boise, you just never know what to get from the blue turf. They're always the little engine that could every single year. They kind of relish this opportunity to play a big brand. In the past, going way back, this is the kind of game they would win. A game where people are just kind of looking past them. So I'm not poo-pooing these matchups, and I really apologize if I came across that way in that post-game rant. My big thing was, guys, if we're gonna put these teams in, and the logic is, hey, based on the resume, and these are the best teams that we thought, and they get beat by 20, I don't really care, because that's the committee's reasoning is that's the best. I should not have made that a Indiana thing or SMU thing or anybody else. It's more about the logic behind how we're getting to these teams. That's really, I guess, my only point I was making. So anything beyond that was this me being emotional and acting like an idiot?
Well, I respect and appreciate you saying that, but that has been something you've been saying, I think, for years now, right? I mean, you got into it last year with Florida State because this is similar angle. Hey, are we talking about best teams right now? Because you're on your third quarterback, and that is, I think that's because, and I don't want to speak for you, but it goes back to what you prefaced your question with at the college football conference or convention up there. That was just speaker after speaker after speaker, not knowing people are listening to them. Can we add some sauce into this just a little bit? You know, and
You're running point on that next August.
I don't think so. That sounds like a suit celebration there. So we can let them go ahead and continue to do that. But your question was, I call these games. I'm very lucky to call these games. You know, you and Falcon both. So like when you guys are in there, you want great everybody for the good of college ball. We want great games to happen. Like, so I think that is why you potentially got emotional. And I think a lot of people misread you. Like you are like obsessed with college ball, love college ball.
I know.
Have been in
I have a
college.
problem.
Yes, I think so.
If you want to find me guilty of anything, I don't have an agenda for a conference or a team. I do have an agenda for the sport. Like I love college football. Like a child. Like I love college football. I care about it. And when it's got a big stage and you got Ravens Steelers on the other channel and you got Chiefs and Texans on the other channel. By the way, I hope Tank Dell, that was a devastating injury. Thoughts and prayers out to him. He's battled through an injury, last year and came all the way back, and then to see that's devastating. But to have these big NFL games on, and here's the first time the 12-team playoff. Like I hurt for the sport. I don't hurt for a certain team or a conference or anything. I just want great games, and everybody's talking on your show and everywhere about, man, how great were those college football playoff games? That's all I want to see, and whatever it takes for us to get to that, I'm all for that.
Amen.
That's really, I guess, what my point I was trying to make.
We got you, and we get to see it every week with you. So it's like a little bit different animal than everybody who's watching at home. And I think that also goes to your passion from, as an Ohio State grad, whenever you talk about like Ryan Day and the way he's being chatted about because of how successful he's been, except for, no big.
That's reality.
No, it's reality.
That's reality.
But like,
I thought Saban at South Bend said it much more eloquently, took the emotion out of it when he talked about, I think he said, enough of all the bullshit of ripping your coach. Why don't you get behind the coach and instead of being an obstacle in front of him, how about getting behind him through the adversity and help push him through? And that's basically my problem. Is I'm a friend of Ryan Day's. He and I talk on a regular basis about more than just football. And so I hear things that he and his family go through, especially Nina, his wife, his son, who gets death threats from multiple people, and what it's doing to them as a family. So when I hear that, and I'm very prideful, just like AJ, in who we are as Ohio State people, and when I hear that, it really frustrates me that he has to deal with putting an armed guard outside of his house 24/7 for his own fan base. Like that hurts my heart that is a reality for the Ohio State coach, because he's lost to Michigan 4 times. So that, I guess, when I get very passionate about that subject, because I know a lot more than the average person knows. And I go to bat for him. I support him. I support his family. And so when I hear that he deals with that, or the players like Will Howard, what he deals with, because he let the clock run down, and he hears from, again, a very small, passionate fraction of the fan base, or he throws 2 picks against Michigan, and what he hears from the fan base, or the offensive line has a game the way they have, and what they hear from a fraction of the fan base, that there's nothing you can do to protect anybody from that. But if that were happening at, UCLA, or I would say, oh, that sucks. But when it happens and it's your team, you get a little bit more protective of your guys and your people. And so that's, anytime you hear me talk about the lunatic fringe, I get frustrated with that group of every fan base has them. I just think the Ohio State fan base, because they're so passionate, I think that very vocal minority of 15 or 20% is as strong at Ohio State as it is anywhere because they care so much. But I just get frustrated because I hear the real deal story from his wife and from his family, and I have since he's been the head coach. And so I get defensive, I get protective, and that's all it is.
Yeah, and it comes through and it shows. And I, as an outsider looking at Ohio State, I just view that's the job. Like,
Yeah,
hey, that's
part of the deal.
But I think what you're saying is you don't love that is how people are viewing like Ohio State. Like this guy, because he's the head coach at Ohio State, he now has to, he has to worry about his fans potentially running his ass out of town if he doesn't. If he 66 and 11?
Yeah,
60.
67.
Now, he's won 87% of his games, which is since he's been a head coach. That's number one in the entire FBS. In 6 years as a head coach, 4 times he's been to the CFP. Who knows what he's going to do this year? This season's not even done, but 4 times he's been to the CFP out of 6 years. He's doing it. I mean, his finishes in the AP, the final AP, 3, 2, 6, 4, and 10, and whatever happens this year. So 5 straight top 10 finishes. Probably will finish. Who knows where they'll finish this year? So doing a pretty decent job. But hey, the Michigan thing's real. John Cooper lived that. Tress was on the other side of that. Urban was on the other side of that. And Ryan he's in a spot right now.
But
He's
Harbaugh didn't Harbaugh lose a bunch in a row, and then he turned it around.
Yeah, I don't know how many, but yeah, I mean he lost a number of them against Urban, and then Ryan Day. 20 they canceled the game because of COVID. 19 was I can't. Yeah, 19 was I believe that was Ryan Day's first year in 19, and they won that one. So yeah, I mean he's up against it. When you lose to Michigan, it's real, man. It's as powerful as it negates for a lot of people. It negates all that stuff I just mentioned. It kind of
As you were listing off the final rankings there, all I heard was somebody in Ohio going, I didn't hear one time. Did you? Did you hear one? I heard a 2. I heard a 3. I heard a 6.
10.
Heard a 4. I didn't hear a 1. And this guy's acting like that is. But to be completely clear, that is why college ball is different than everywhere else. Like,
it is.
College ball has that. Now, I do appreciate that you have, because I assume during times in your life, being from Ohio, being in the position that you're in, having to potentially say something negative about Ohio State football publicly on College Game Day. Obviously, you've had your own run-ins with Ohio State fans, I would assume, through history. I assume at one point you said Ohio State fans as a whole, and a lot of people got mad at you. So then you said, I have to be able to figure out how to describe the people that I'm talking about within the fan base. And you started using lunatic fringe. I think
And I would just say this, because AJ is a big part of what Stephanie and Chris Spielman started more than a decade now. I don't know how long it's been, but this Cruise for Cancer, the Cruise for Cancer, the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer, like if you ever want to be reminded that they're really, really good, like I said, that 80% of those Ohio State fans, whether Ryan Day and the Buckeyes win or lose, they are right there with them through thick and thin. And the people in that horseshoe the other night, those are the best fans walking on the planet. So that's what I think those people get as frustrated as I do with the here's the thing with the lunatic fringe. Here to sum them up. If Ohio State wins, they go online and talk shit against whoever they beat. I mean, they go at it. They don't ever enjoy a victory. They're too busy just throwing shit at the opponent. And then when they lose, they got to go after either Will Howard or Ryan Day or Chip Kelly.
Or the kicker.
So when you win, you kill your own. And when you lose, you kill the enemy. Like there's never harmony. There's never, you know what? There's never they lost and you tip your cap and you say, you know what? The boys just didn't have it today. We'll get them next time. There's never that. It's either you kill the opponent for the audacity of thinking you could play with us, or you kill the head coach or your own team. So that's kind of where they live through wins and losses.
Well, we'd like to let that, a fringe group, as you guys describe it, know that their passion is certainly admirable. The fact that you care
Yeah.
that much about Ohio State is sweet. The way you guys go about doing it, I think 10, 15 years from now, potentially going to look back and say that was not the right way. But to the passionate fans that showed up there, Ohio State fans, it's like, I wish they chanted AJ Hawk's name in that place.
That was a really
Did you hear that, Herbie? Did you hear that?
I did. I heard it from the booth.
It was awesome.
At first, I thought they were saying to you, take it off.
Oh, yeah.
Take it off.
No, yeah.
Take it off.
Thank you.
I didn't know until listening to you guys this morning it was AJ Hawk.
Yeah.
I thought they're trying to get Pat to take his shit off in this weather.
No, yeah, and that would not have happened. I would have let
Did you think that at all when you first heard him?
No, at first I didn't know, but yeah, I thought it was taken off for a second. But I was,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he would not take that off. Just throw it out there.
Yeah, I wasn't, Gage. You know that, and they were never saying that. We were making sure AJ could hear that too, because like that is a part of the Ohio State fan base that is so good.
Absolutely.
Like, they are one of the greatest college football states ever.
Absolutely. No
You know?
question.
And I think them being a cold ass state too was quite a weapon. And shout out to those Volunteers fans, man. Shout out to those Volunteers fans. Legit from game day all the way through. They
How about in
showed up.
pregame when you walked into the stadium and you looked up?
Wow.
I've been going to Ohio Stadium since 1975. I mean, the most I've seen inside Ohio Stadium is 5,000 from the other side. 6. I've never in my mind. Now again, first game in December. Off of Michigan loss. It's cold. No, they're not on campus. The students are off campus. But I don't think it was a question of would Tennessee travel. For me, it was a question. They can travel. They're going to be outside of the stadium because Ohio State fans would never sell their tickets to anybody. But it was a perfect storm. Big fan base coming in. Ohio State fans willing to not go to the game. So you had whatever it was, 30 or 35,000 Tennessee fans at the beginning of that game.
And I would like to say to those 35,000, hell yeah. You are also what makes college football so damn
No doubt.
special.
No doubt.
So damn special out there. Okay, let's talk about the NFL, shall we? D-Butch has a question for you.
Yeah, moving on to pro football, Kirk, you kind of talked about it earlier about playing on a short week. We got some huge games coming up on Christmas, and obviously the last couple of years, you and Al been calling Thursday night football. So in these production meetings, what's been the most common thing from the coaches and the players, I guess, when it comes to preparing for these short week games?
Well, you played, and you played in these games, and you know much better than I do what that does to your body. I think when this is our third year doing these Thursday night games for me.
So this
And
week,
early, I heard a lot of how challenging they were.
November.
And I think as it's gone on,
See if
I
do
think
touch
it's turned
some
into more of
Apple, 'cause
an
if
opportunity.
I did,
Because they look at it now as, well, if we can mentally turn this into a positive, win the game, we get a mini bye like on the back end of this thing where we can enjoy our
I don't
families,
know
watch
where he
some
was,
football,
but
and recover for the next game. So I'm hearing more and more of that from coaches about, it's challenging to get your body right that quickly, to have to turn it around. You really don't practice on short weeks. You know, it's a lot of walkthroughs, just you streamline the package. You kind of do what you do well and make some adjustments within the game. But I'm hearing more and more positive, let's win this. Let's get our recovery on the back end. But I don't know. I don't know with this game. And you're right. These are big games as we get to the stretch here with only 2 weeks to go in the season.
What do you have Thursday? Seahawks, Bears?
Yeah.
Seahawks need that.
Woof.
Seahawks need that. Bears need to stop being on TV, I think is what their fans are saying in this entire thing. But Bears could come out and play their best game somehow, beat the Seahawks, just like the Cowboys just did to the Bucs. Like, these final games here are very interesting. Some teams seemingly have nothing to play for, and then some teams have everything to play for. And just
Well, you see Seattle there at 9. At 9, it's sitting there. If they win, they're 9-7, and then you look at the 3, the Rams, who you'd think are going to win this week, and then it comes down to that final game, Week 18. They play head to head. So Seattle needs a win this week to make that final game, Week 18, Rams Seahawks, be for everything. Everything's on the line. winner
Stock
takes the
Associates
division.
responsible for
As
verifying
opposed to,
merchandise
the
received,
Seahawks stumbled in
deliveries, and
Chicago,
plans with no
it's over.
merchandising
You know,
and stock.
they're hoping for Rams upset themselves to be
true.
able to make that next
That's
game
true.
still matter. So to make it simpler,
Now,
they need
the
to beat
first thing
Chicago
they have to look
Thursday
out for
and then move on to
is
that last matchup against LA.
We had football Thursday,
Right.
Friday,
Right.
Saturday,
Right.
Sunday,
Right.
Monday.
Right.
Merry Christmas Eve on Tuesday.
That's right.
Then we got 2 games on Wednesday
Right.
and Thursday.
Right.
What a good time.
I know.
It is fantastic.
Hey, this beats the hell out of July when you guys are banging around trying to come up with topics.
You're telling me, brother. I actually had that thought yesterday as I was thawing.
why would
I
you?
was thawing out yesterday at my
No.
house because it felt like I'd been in the cold for a month. Because Friday we were out there 4.5 hours before the game started, 5 hours before the game started, and then
And
did
I
game day.
missed.
Then had to be out there for, halftime as well. So
Yep.
we're out there for that entire thing. It felt like we were outside in the freezing cold forever. That felt like a full day
Forever.
of living
Yeah.
outside. Then hop on plane. Here we go. 5 hours later, after getting on the ground, back in the freezing cold in Ohio. Tennessee fans brought the juice for me. I'm gonna be honest. Freezing cold. Then we hang out in
The facility.
for the day, and then we go back out. And the game was somehow in that second half colder than I've ever felt in my entire life. Somehow, I don't know if I'm getting older. So on Sunday, I literally was just like thawing out. I'd never felt my body actually do it, and I started thinking like, man, this feels terrible. And then I thought to myself, not as terrible as the show in the offseason. Like I was just immediately so thankful. Those are my worst. That's the worst time of my life. And
Yeah. I was figuring you get to
All right,
the
let me see
draft,
what's going on because
Yeah.
it's been. Oh,
and then you got May,
Free agency.
not a whole lot.
dude, I'm in shower
Mhm.
those mornings. I'm in shower over here. Just like, how the fuck are we gonna create anything that people won't say, wow, what a waste of fucking
All right.
time? And then water's just
so
sitting in the
what
face.
I
I'm not even
will
moving.
do
Legitimately.
is
Then, after hockey season ends, after NBA, there's like that time in the summer.
he does
Yeah.
not like it, but he wants to look at the
Dog
conversation.
days.
Yeah, July.
Everyone does. I heard
Baseball
that
carries the
company
show. Yeah.
No,
Oh yeah.
never.
Even
That's
for
never
months. When you
Never.
watch this,
We tried.
And my
only.
Reds
Certainly
it
do.
definitely doesn't
I'm
carry the
not
show.
sure
Your Pirates.
if let's say
Well, you
gotta
gotta
sign
I
Kutch.
don't get a
We decided
cafe,
Thank you. You heard of him?
Oh,
Still doing
if,
oh yeah.
if I say
Yeah, he's still
Still
I
bringing
got a
it.
J-O-D,
Five
and I
big
don't need
fucking
to change
booms.
anything.
Huh?
He's a stud. How old is he? He's a stud.
He's young.
45, I think.
He's
Reds just had a massive.
Plus, you got a starter. You got a starter.
He's 63.
You talking about
Big-
exchange?
You mean the starter?
Yeah, we got the future.
The starter. The starter.
Yeah, and they're thinking about trading away Jared Jones, one half of the Hundo boys, alongside Paul Skeens. We're not going to do that. This owner understands that we got a chance to win right now. Resign Kutch, resign maybe Jason Kendall.
Yeah, if they could.
If we get him back,
Clemente?
I mean, I don't think that one's possible.
He's alive?
I don't
No,
think that
he's
was.
dead. Kutch is on
Rest in peace, by the way, to Roberto Clemente. Thank you for everything that you did.
38.
Barry Bonds is coming back.
Sure.
Is that
Kutch is 38.
38 years old. He's seen the ball better than ever. The game's slowing down for
I
him.
hope
3 years
so.
younger.
Love everything about it. Let's get back to some.
Do you think that Bucco's got a shot this year?
So these
Why are we
service,
talking about baseball?
Why do you think I have a fucking bat
If
right here,
I-
pal? Huh? What do you think? Because I'm going here, and then I'm going
I
here.
didn't even say
And
I
it's
went
all
to
bat.
You ever heard of a guy named Terry Francona?
worked over there.
Yeah, I know Big Frank.
Absolute
Tito.
dog.
Tito?
Tito.
Tito Frank.
Yeah.
Tito? Ever heard of him?
Yeah, him, man.
World Series this year.
Legend.
Just stumbled down
Also-
to Cincinnati with all that young talent.
To do what?
Ellie,
He's a manager.
Stumble out.
manager of the
You
Red
guys
Wings.
still don't page anybody either, though, Herbie.
No,
You
we
guys
got
always shop your
we look at
younger
ourselves as a
lads.
farm system. We got to win this year before they all go to New York and LA.
Just traded for Jose
Alright,
Trevino.
let's
It's a massive
see.
acquisition, Herbie.
Oh my God. Jose?
I'm being serious.
Jose's a dog,
He
dude.
is. He's
Let's
been starting catcher
see.
for the Reds.
Of course he is. He's got Jason Kendall in Pittsburgh he can learn from too if he needs to.
Sure.
Terry Francona is still
Now,
coaching.
what's gonna happen is
Huh?
Still doing it?
Still bringing
Yeah,
it?
still bringing it.
bringing
I
it.
know exactly.
So
what
coach-
you mean, but-
So these
He's going to be he'll be the story in all of
let's see
MLB
what's
this
going with
year.
his update status, but I
all of
don't
it.
think
Shohei's
so.
still
All
in the
of MLB.
baseball or no? Shohei's still doing
All of
baseball?
baseball.
Yeah,
pitching.
He's going to be the story.
He doesn't overperform.
What about Paul
Alright.
Skeens? What is he still in baseball?
Nah.
Once every 12 days or whatever it is.
And he's great then. They need to let him hit too. The motherfucker could be Shohei. They won't let him do it.
Alright.
Once again, Pittsburgh's holding him back. I'm done with it. Let's go Buccos. We're gonna win it this year. How about the $750 million contracts that baseball has now? That's awesome.
He got paid. And the problem is there's only 3 teams that do that. Everybody else, go look at the Reds roster. Look at
It
their payroll.
says that it
I
says
learned about the Cleveland
because you have mentioned all the
Guardians.
changes. Well, it just
Commanders.
told me
Cleveland
and
Commanders in baseball.
well,
I
got
saw
a plan. It says-
their payroll whenever they made it.
it says I
compared
have
to
matching qualifications
Dodgers, I
based
think,
on
they were
my
talking about,
profile and
and
it's
it
on the
was
description.
1/10. I think it was 1/10 of it.
Mhm.
It's only going to get worse. That is only going to get bigger. But until they make rules against it, I
Now
don't blame,
here is
I don't
my
blame the teams.
responsible.
Let's get back to the NFL. Baseball stinks.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, we were actually just talking about why we.
If I did
it's
get it,
something we have to talk about baseball.
Yeah, that's how we got here. I remember I was doing the thing in the show. Oh yeah, I just took,
how
I
am I
took a trip
going
to
to-
By
Terry.
the way, how did that long coat work out for you in that cold?
It was pretty good.
It looked warm.
It was pretty good. No buttons, so can't close it actually.
What did you go
But
with a
actually,
black
I
tee
did
underneath?
apply this
Turtleneck,
last
2 of them.
week.
Dubla
I
turtlenecks.
need to be a week
stacked
or
on top of
two,
each
but
other.
I think
You know, because I told you,
should.
anytime you Amazon something, it's a real.
Rookie mistake on Friday in South
If
Bend.
so,
Yeah, only had one on. You know, I had one turtleneck on, and it was real thin. It was actually thinner than my tank tops.
Ooh.
So the only thing it was doing was just covering my neck. It was nowhere near thicker than anything at all. So obviously, jacket was needed. Yeah, I went double turtleneck on Saturday with the jacket there. Well,
Nothing on the dome either.
yeah, just let the hair freeze. Actually, I don't believe in headaches. Got one at the end.
Sure.
Got one at the end. I think that's a brain freeze actually happened out there. But
So
How
I
was your
just
voice
planned on December
all you
19th, which
guys
is on a
after calling that game?
Thursday.
How'd you guys' voice go on Sunday?
Fine.
Great. Yeah, I'm bringing it.
Still bringing it.
I lost mine at the end of my game day morning hit.
Yeah.
I was doing a toast with my Yins mug, and then it kind of dropped on. And I was like, oh, that might not come back.
Mm-hmm.
And it did. You know, every once in a while, you just got to drop into a different octave.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to utilize a different part of your voice box or whatever the hell this thing is. That just
Larynx.
The
drops
one
out
at
of
King
nowhere,
Impression
middle of a
Law.
sentence for me every once in a while. You know, when you yell like an asshole all the time, it's going to catch up to you.
I know.
There
All I
is-
have to
there
do
is-
is.
One last thing on these games. Is Jeremiah Smith the best looking true freshman we've all ever
Alright.
seen? I don't mean his catches.
He's
I mean,
been over the
you
last.
look at him in his unit. You guys were down there
I
close
know
to
I
him.
can log into
Yeah.
this.
Built
I
like
can't think of
a
a.
Madden player.
But for
Yeah.
Steve, man,
Adrian Peterson
I don't know.
as a running
Yeah,
back,
that's a good
back,
call.
But like
That's
probably
a good
him.
call.
Now.
Oriole Greenback.
How about DK Metcalf?
Oh
I
crap!
don't know how he looked as a true freshman.
True.
Yeah, I don't remember him as a true freshman.
Yeah, I am literally just saying names for argument's
Yeah.
sake. When I watched him track the ball, because we're there, you know, we get to see a lot of cool shit.
Yeah, you're right there.
We got X catching that deep
All right.
ball against Alabama
Yeah.
right in front of us with Matthew McConaughey. So we actually see the ball coming down like actually moving. Jeremiah, when I looked over at ball was up, so I'm looking at Jeremiah. He had no idea the ball was coming. He had no clue that the ball was coming. And then he actually looks back at Will Howard at one point. Ball's in air at this point, very much in air. And then he notices that, oh shit, the ball's coming. Then he tracks it. Then it was just like so comfortable, so calm. There was no panic at all. Great ball by Will Howard. Great ball by Will Howard. But it was like just so matter of fact. It felt like he was just strolling like down the sidewalk, just casual.
They say his humility, prep, and hard work are as impressive as what he looks like as a player, which means, can you imagine what that guy will look like in 2026 when he comes out for the draft?
It's crazy because they're saying he'd be like top 10 pick if he was to come out right now.
Yeah.
He has to play college for at least 3 years or 3 years removed from high school until you can get drafted. He could go train for 2 years right now and still be the number one wide receiver drafted in a couple of years. But instead, we'll get to watch him just do his thing up there in the Big Ten, he's South Florida boy. You know,
Who do you guys compare him to? Who do you guys, when you look at his
Probably
game?
like I mean, it's so early. Probably like a Andre Johnson, based on his physique.
Yeah,
like Drake.
that's a
just
good
still
one.
Bolden.
Get out of it. But like
Darius, I was
Andre,
going
Julio.
young T.O. I was going young T.O.
I can see T.O. Julio Jones. Like he's of that ilk for sure.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was good.
Well said.
The dog-
Drag routes. They were running a bunch of those.
Yep.
The fact that he's willing to go. Also, you talk about his humility.
Oh man.
He would do.
Yeah.
He would do whatever. I think he was blocking his ass off too.
Box his ass off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
How about 32?
So
So good. So good.
32 with his knees. I mean, he just looks like it's he and Junkins together.
Yeah.
I mean, they shared the duties almost 50-50.
Yep.
So they're both so fresh right now.
How about on Henderson's 32, Trayvon Henderson's long touchdown run? Safety comes down. Was it safety or corner?
Yeah, it was Will Brooks, bad angle.
Yeah, but he didn't want to
Oh,
do it. Nobody
no.
wanted. There was
That's
no
an
way.
impossible task.
Yeah, there's no way.
Once he shook him and he went around, it was just
Yeah.
man. That's an NFL back playing college.
You want to talk about Jeremiah's having a big one? How about Love comes on game day? Very cool. And then we happen to just be standing right behind that play.
Oh,
God, see it. He gets there was a good hole. Obviously, he sees it, hits it. But then it was like as soon as he got out of there, that thing was
history.
gone. Yeah. 98 yards right there. You know they don't.
Watch this.
So-
What?
And
Goodbye.
He's got another
Yeah,
one, too.
Yeah, that home run speed is
Dang.
different.
he was really good on game day.
He was outstanding while he was warming up.
He was really, really good on game day. She kept saying,
Jeez.
These backs, man, like these dudes. We talked about the backs at Ohio State. Obviously, you're gonna win games, but splitting those carries, like, because he had that running and what he didn't see him for. I feel like
3 series.
yeah, 10 minutes. Dylan last night with or the other night Tennessee, like
What happened to Dylan?
I think it was a hammy that was tweaked. They just couldn't loosen it up on the bike.
That cold.
Who was he? They had freshman Lewis.
who is
Eight.
it?
Peyton, yeah, Peyton.
In 18.
They need
18 Sheldon.
Bishop.
Yep.
Something.
Bishop. Yeah.
They
Bishop.
need to. You get college football. You have the ability to do this. They need enough with the fair catch on the kickoff.
oh my god.
Yeah.
Enough. It looks so terrible for the sport of football. Like I don't even know how it's allowed. I don't know how it got in. I don't like it. Their kickoff much better than the NFL
I was
kickoff.
going to say,
Yeah.
I'd take the NFL kickoff to get rid of that. Though.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't. If we need, I don't
They
know.
do two-man
50-50.
wedge. Can college do two-man wedge?
I don't know.
Do you know, Craig?
I don't know. I don't know that.
They need to stop fair catching these kickoffs. I can't watch. I almost puked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gross.
You got
Would you
some-
rather the NFL kickoff in college than the fair catches?
Me?
Final answer?
Yeah.
I want to see returns. Whatever it takes to get more returns. I don't like the fair catch.
Turpin got
I mean, I miss those 98-yard kickoff returns for touchdowns that happen here and there, or even one that gets you in plus territory. The energy that it creates, or a guy getting drilled at the 10-yard line. I think that play is a big play in the sport.
It sets a tone for an entire drive.
It does.
It literally
Yeah.
sets a tone for an entire drive, an entire game, everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, a guy flies down there and drills a guy at the 10-yard line. Oh my God, the place goes crazy.
Yeah, it is big booms. You bring a big boom. I think they're going to change the NFL kickoff to what was originally pitched, which was the 35 instead of the 30 for a touchback. And I think
Yeah.
that'll keep more people kicking it into the landing
Yeah.
zone. But I
Yeah,
think
they're just willing to take the punishment. They're like, whatever.
30
no
is
big
cool.
deal.
Yeah, that's half.
Yeah.
What, they pick up a 5-yard gain on first down? Sweet.
Yep.
2nd and 5, we will give that up. If they go to 35, it's a full first down from what it used to be. I think people will change the way they look at it. And also with the weather coming, there's been more returns. There's been, Commanders.
Yeah, Luke McCaffrey damn near won them the game every single time they returned the ball. He might have had one inside the 30, but the rest of them were way out past. They had great field position.
Speaking of special teams, go ahead, call me.
Yeah, Herbie, on Thursday night, Chargers Broncos, probably the only time, maybe the only time we'll ever see this, the free kick at halftime. Did you have any idea what the hell was going on? And did Al Michaels even have any idea what's going on? He's been calling games since World War II, and it feels like we'll never see it again.
No, I don't think either one of us were really. I mean, Terry obviously did. He helped us out, but they would think of. I was still thinking about what were they thinking at the